A pleasant day to everyone. It's me again, Raquel Ana Altres, and for this video, I'm going to tackle about the developmental reading one. So each of us have a different purposes of reading, like we want to be knowledgeable of that certain subject, or we want to get some information that we can use in some ways, or others may want to be updated on what is going on to our society, especially at this time of pandemic. And others may also want to entertain themselves or having fun through reading. And for this lesson, which is reading for specific purposes. So this will give us an idea, or we say we can use this kind of some specific purposes on whatever we want to read. And for number one is skimming. Reading for a general impression. Skimming the text you are about to read should give you an idea of the useful of the text for your purpose and also a general idea of what it is about. This information helps you to decide how well you should read it. So in skimming, it is to find the main idea of a text fast and or also get a general impression, or to understand faster, or to read the most important part such as titles, pictures, subheading, paragraph, and sentence. For example, you are going to read a newspaper or a magazine. The first thing you want to read is to read the titles and look at the pictures and read the subheading, paragraph, or the sentence. Number two is scanning, reading for specific details, and one may need to find answers to certain questions you have set beforehand, like what, who, and when. So you are going to read only the specific details without having to read an entire selection. And for example, you are going to read your flight schedule, so you just get to read some specific details like a name, your date, the time, or the name of the plane. So that is a example of specific details. Number three, reading for main points and general. The main points could include information like why the text was written, what is the purpose of the writer was, how the text is organized, and what the main arguments are. So you will get only the information of what is the purpose of a writer, like the main arguments or how the text organized. So example is you are reading for an exam. Of course, you will read what is the purpose of a writer on that selection. Next, number four is reading for selected main points. One may look for information about a specific area or answers to certain questions. One reading will probably them aim at finding that information only. So in reading for selected main points, you will identify what is the topic or the specific area, or find only the information like the main idea. And for example is you're going to read a thesis or an exam. Number five is critical for evaluative reading. It is also known as intensive reading. if you read a text with a critical or evaluative attitude, you probably compare the writer's views with your own or some other writer's views. Making a difference between facts and opinions of the writer is also important. So, you're going to compare the writer's views to others and what is the difference between facts and opinion of a writer. That is why it is also known a intensive reading. For example, again, you're going to read a thesis or an exam. Number 6 is reading for pleasure. It is done usually without having a content in mind. So you are going to read what you want to read for just a entertainment or enjoyment, and it also give you a social benefits like will expand your knowledge and imagination with the use of internet or books or comics, or you're gonna read an article. So this is a reading for pleasure. Next is developing students into critical and metacognitive readers. So there are some guidelines that a reader teacher must be followed. Okay. The reading teacher should bear in mind that a critical reader must carefully examine his or her thinking and thinking of others in order to clarify and improve own understanding. Should examine test suggested solutions to see whether they will work, need to test ideas for flaws or defects, and must not be inhibited by fear of being aggressive and destructive, nor have fear of retaliation and over-evaluation, and should actively, carefully exploring situations from different perspectives and discussing ideas in organized ways. Because a critical reader, they read with a goal and of finding deep understanding of that material, whether it is fiction or non-fiction. They want to analyze and evaluate what they are reading as they make their way through the text or as they reflect back upon their reading. Critical thinkers these are characteristics of a critical thinkers. So, a critical thinkers is skeptical, meaning they are not easily convinced or having doubts or reservations, like just because it is print doesn't mean it is right. Okay. Next is fact-oriented. They are a detailed reader and enjoys analyzing all the facts and information, making sure everything is correct and correlating all the known issues. Like, give me the facts and convince me that they are the relevant one. Next is analytic. So there is a deep understanding on what he or she read, like how has the work been organized or what strategies has the writer used. Next is open-minded. So they prepared to listen to different points of views or do not be restricted by personal bias. So that is a open-minded. Next is questioning. So they want to explore and discover new things. That's why they want to make some questions like what other conclusions could be supported by the evidence. Next is creative. So creative they want to produce fresh or original ideas not explicitly stated in the reading materials, like what other conclusions could be supported by the evidence. Next, willing to take a stand. So they are willing to give their own opinion, and they will uh, defend their views on what he or she read in the article. Like, is the argument convincing, or what is my position on the issues? Those who show the ability to separate fact from opinion, recognizes propaganda techniques, compares different sources of information, recognizes important missing information, draws inferences that are not explicitly stated, and identifies the author's background or purpose. So these are some characteristics of a critical thinkers. A creative reader uses his or her cognitive processes to develop ideas that are unique, useful, and worthy of further elaboration. They discovers a new or improved solution to a problem or a set of new ideas. They organizes ideas in different ways and makes unusual comparisons. And it is not inhibited by conformity, censorship, rigid education, and desire to find an answer quickly. It's because they want to be to explore or discover new things on what they are reading. So that is why a creative reader. So that is a some characteristics of a creative reader. Next is metacognitive reader. Is aware of one's mental processes such that one can monitor, regulate, and direct them to a desired end. Has the ability to think about and control own learning, and practices self-regulation and monitoring comprehension. So they are gonna use their cognitive processes. So they have a capabilities to create an ideas on what they are reading, what and or they are a practices a self-regulation and monitoring comprehension. So they can easily understand while they are reading. That is a metacognitive reader. And that's all for the lesson 4, reading on specific purposes. Thank you and God bless.